This is part 2 of chapter 12. The Templeton twins think of something that even the narrator has to admit is clever. We will start at the bottom of page 167 where it says, "Where's the girl?" Let us begin. "Where's the girl?" Dandy Dean said. "She ran out to the highway to get help." Dandy Dean stood there for a second, breathing hard and being infuriated. He ran inside and came out a moment later with the map. Then he grabbed John by the arm and dragged him over to the car. "Get in," he said, and flung John into the back seat. Dan disgustingly unhooked Casey from the bumper, and the still ridiculous dog leaped in after John, thrilled and ecstatic and ready for fun. Dandy Dean got in, and with the key that he had in his possession the whole time, as people do in real life, started the car, turned it around in a cloud of dust, and with a squeal of tires and a roar up the dirt road, they came to the main highway, and Dandy Dean looked back and forth. "I don't see her," he said. "Great," John said. "That means someone picked her up." Dandy Dean gritted his teeth and floored the accelerator, and the car zoomed down the highway. Casey, as she always did, wasted no time in wrinkling into the front seat and climbing on the driver's lap. "Get this animal off me!" Dandy Dean yelled. John took Casey in his arms and held her on his lap. As they drove, he thought about how clever his sister was. "For once, I won't blame you if you don't understand what I'm referring to. So let me explain." It had been John's idea to let Dandy Dean loose, and as when he let a drumstick bounce the way it wanted to allow him to drive where he wanted to, which they were sure was where his brother Dandy Dean had taken the professor. John had then suggested that he and his sister hide in the trunk of the car, but Abigail, with the swiftness of mind had come from working on cryptic crossword puzzles, had realized that there was a fatal flaw in that plan. Had both the Templeton twins jumped in the trunk and shut the trunk door, they would have been unable to get out of the trunk when they got to their destination. Or they would have had to make noise and yell, "Let us out!" enabling the Dean brothers, the Dean twins, to take them prisoner, which would accomplish nothing. But had they left the trunk door open a crack, Dandy Dean would have seen the little light on the dashboard that tells you when the trunk or a door isn't fully closed. That's what Abigail was looking for on the dashboard. That little "a door is open" light. If Dandy Dean had seen it, he would have stopped the car, looked in the trunk, and discovered the twins. So it had been Abigail's idea that one of them ride in the fully closed trunk and the other with Dandy Dean. They knew that he would join his brother as quickly as possible once he thought that one of the twins had gotten away. He would want to know why John hadn't escaped with Abigail, so they made up the story that John had hurt his ankle. Yes, It was very clever. Forgive me, but I'm sure you wouldn't be capable of thinking up something as clever as that. And frankly, I'm not sure I would be either. They drove and drove. Actually, they didn't drive and drive. They just drove for about 15 minutes. John noted with satisfaction that they drove down Sunnyfield Road, turned right onto Green Meadow Avenue, and passed State Route 12. At last, they never saw State Route 7 because before they came to it, they turned right onto a dirt and grass road that led into an area of thick forest. They bounded and bounced across this rutty, rocky road for about 5 minutes. John wondered if Abigail in the trunk was being terribly banged around by the cars while bouncing, and decided that she probably was. He felt bad for her, but what could he do? Then the car reached a clearing in the forest, and John saw everything that he had hoped he would and wouldn't see. The black SUV was there. Professor Templeton was there, wearing his usual baggy white trousers and billowy white shirt, and looking frightened, but trying to bear up under the circumstances. And Dean was there, standing next to the professor, pointing a gun at him. Dandy Dean stopped his car and snarled, "Get out!" John put Casey on the ground and then got out, making sure to remember to limp and hobble and act as though he suffered from a hurt ankle. He made his way around toward the driver's side, leaned against it, and sulked as though he didn't know what to do and was full of despair. Dandy Dean got out and said, "Let's go," and marched off to join his brother. That's when John had a moment to reach in and, using the control near the driver's door, opened the trunk. Then he fake limped off toward the others. Casey, seeing Professor Templeton was there, wagged her absurd tail and looked energized and delighted. Behind him, as he went, John could sense his sister sneaking out of the trunk and quietly lowering its lid. They had now reached the second phase of their plan, which I'm calling Phase 2. Questions for review. Number 1. The twins' scheme to hide Abigail in the trunk was clever, but weren't you impressed by how clearly the narrator explained it? Number 2. When John got his clothes extremely dirty while escaping from the basement and rolling around on the ground to seem injured, wasn't it horrible? Number 3. Essay question. Write an essay on how clever you think you are. It should be at least 500,000 words in French. Well, go ahead. That is the end of Chapter 12.